Good afternoon guys, and firstly welcome back to my channel. So in terms of this video, basically it's going to be a sit down Q&A. I'm thinking 7 to 8 questions. I basically put on my question box on my story on Instagram, make them juicy, make them fun, make them questions kind of maybe that I haven't answered previously, and I'll kind of touch on them on here. So if you haven't already, go and check out Wednesday's video, which basically was a full day of eating, and then the one before that, which was 5 things I wish I knew before I started my journey. A few of you have said kind of you enjoy the whole sit down chat, and I really enjoy it as well, so I'm gonna keep doing them. Let's get into the video. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see, and let's get into the juicy Q&A. There are some juicy ones, let's just say that. First question, my boyfriend is on prep and it's how did you guys cope? Firstly, there's a lot of sex questions, there's some family questions, there's some just general questions, so I'm gonna start with that one. In terms of prep, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, it is very, 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 very hard, especially towards the kind of back end of prep. It's very couple dependent, and you have to remember not to kind of compare your relationship to others on prep especially. So for Harv and I, we actually still did some things. Obviously my calories were still kind of relatively at a good point, so we kind of did things where, let's say for example, we went to the cinema, we always made sure we had 1 date night per week. Whether that literally be going to Blue Water, so like it's a shopping centre in the UK. At this point, bearing in mind also we were kind of like purchasing our house, so we knew it was coming. So we were kind of actually just buying things for the house, and that for me is a really good distraction. And that for us, as kind of tiring as it was, we literally did it for an hour or 2, and that kind of was our date night. It's finding things that kind of work well for you. I would, for myself, it was really important that kind of we did still have those date nights, simply because we worked together, we lived together. It was very, very hard, kind of stressful time. Obviously growing a business, kind of purchasing our first house, being self-employed is a nightmare. And kind of just generally just making sure we still have obviously that kind of, you could say, spark in a relationship, and just making sure we do prioritize that. Of course, you kind of have this blinker when kind of you are the person on prep where you literally have no other focus but getting the job done day in, day out. And for me, that kind of, it did end up where Harv would literally have to be dragging me, not literally, but like it felt like he was literally dragging me around to do steps. I was exhausted. I was walking around our kind of my mum's house, and I was literally crying. Like, I just physically cannot do these steps. I had 13,000 steps to do, and I had a couple of thousand left, and I was like, I physically can't. And I just remember crying, and I was like, why am I crying? So it is very person dependent, but you have to be there to support them, and really just remember it's short term. It's literally going to be done, because at the end of the day, you can't prep the rest of your life. Like, they're going to get angry, they are going to be kind of short tempered for some people. For myself, it kind of was best to just let me stay in bed. Like, I literally stayed in bed, didn't really get much conversation out of me, and I was very much kind of in my zone, just getting my stuff done. Harv at the time also wasn't training, obviously his hand. So literally he would, I would go to the gym by myself. So I'd wake up at 5-ish, I would do my cardio 45 minutes, Harv would stay in bed. I would then also drive to the gym by myself. So I very much had me time where I literally would, sorry, I would literally speak to no one but myself, and I'd be vlogging, I'd be kind of doing it. Of course, you can tell if you look back in the vlogs, like I was exhausted. Like, I look back and I'm like, there, like, I'm like, what the hell? It's crazy. But you have, like I said, you have to be there to support that person, and kind of just remember that you're going to feel so proud when they step on stage. Literally the videos of when I stepped on stage, Harv is there screaming, shouting, and all I did when I was on stage was just look at Harv, and it was a very, very proud moment. It is going to be hard, there'll be arguments, etc., but just support them through it. Next question, we move on. Now, this for me was quite a touchy question, you could say. It's something that I wouldn't say avoid, it's just something that is very much to myself. But you know what, I just thought, I've never really touched on it just because I haven't really felt the need to. And of course, there's not everything that's going to be shared on social media, and it's so important to kind of remember that. But I don't know if you've addressed this. We see your mum, but what's the story with your dad? So my mum and dad divorced 10-11 years ago. I was young, obviously my brother is younger as well. Basically they're divorced, they weren't happy. My dad was never really home anyway, he was very much kind of work. So my brother was always out on his bike and I'd be horse riding, so it'd be like both fields, we'd be doing our different things. But basically my parents divorced, and I don't really know how, it's really hard to word. I don't talk to my dad. I haven't spoken with my dad in years, like I can't even tell you how many years it is. Halves only met my dad once, I think, once or twice, and that is literally it. And yeah, my dad has actually another family. I've never met them. I've never met their kids. There's 3 kids, I know that. It is one of those things that I want to kind of state that no family is perfect. Like on social media, it can look so perfect, and it's a real hard subject for me to talk about. Like it is hard. My mum knows this well. Like my brother knows this as well. Like it's, especially for my brother, like it is a really hard kind of subject to touch on. Which is why I kind of like, I don't know, I don't really bring it up. But moving on, I have the most incredible grandparents that basically my grandparents, you could say, my granddad is like my dad's role, you could say. Like I couldn't be anywhere without my grandparents. I'm extremely lucky to have such supportive grandparents. But basically me and my brother, they always lived next door to us for like, ever since mum and dad divorced, we've literally lived next door to them, and we would be around there so like often. And yeah, my grandparents are literally like, I couldn't survive without them. Mum and I always say this as well, like they are just like that parent kind of figure, and well, granddad is kind of that dad figure, you could kind of say, whether I'm crying, whether I'm upset, angry, and my nan always watches all of my stuff. And I remember kind of when I said, I didn't want to kind of carry on university, I phoned mum, I was like, Mum, what's granddad gonna say? Like, what's G-Dog? Basically call him G-Dog. I'm like, what's G-Dog gonna say? Like, is he gonna be really angry at me? Because he was very much for kind of me getting through to uni. I phoned him up and was like, G-Dog, it's not for me, I'm not going back to uni. And he was like, fine, fair enough, this is good, let's kind of get a plan of action. And I was like, whew, breathe. So yeah, that kind of answers that. My dad is not in the picture. We move on. That was quite like a question. Okay, so next question. Will you talk about prep effects? About how, prep affects your sex life? I couldn't imagine. So, your libido, so basically your kind of sex drive towards the back end of prep, is non-existent. There is nothing there. In the sense of your energy is so low that kind of, that is the last thing on your mind. So for me, kind of it was towards the, I'd say a couple of weeks before my first show, when literally I was just like, yeah, no, it's not happening. And that's the reality of it. And of course, that's something that's not as spoken about, but it is person dependent. Harv and I have been through it a few times now, because obviously we've prepped together, so we're not together, sorry, we've done a few preps where I've prepped a couple of times, he's prepped once. So we kind of did know what was coming for this prep, and of course this prep for me was very, very, very intense. So yeah, my kind of sex drive just wasn't there. And of course, once food starts increasing, then I'm back to my normal self. Okay, so next question, any new workout guides? I feel like I'm just gonna leave this with the, you know, that eye emoji, and I'm gonna move on to the next question. I'm gonna be that person. I'm gonna be that is such an annoying person to be, but that's gonna be me. Long term, back end of the year, that's what I'm gonna say. We've kind of, that's a big focus towards the back end of the year, so keep your eyes peeled. This is a good one. I've kind of combined the two here. So what does Harv do that irritates you? Another person said 3 things that annoy you about working with Harv. So, in kind of, I actually did a reel on this yesterday in terms of like, we kind of met on the train, and I was like 16, he was like 18, and we've been together almost 7 years. 7 years. I'm sorry, what? In terms of kind of what irritates me, obviously we've lived together, well, we've done long distance, we've lived together, we've kind of had flats, we've had rented flats, we've rented kind of houses, we've obviously now got our own house and bought our own house. In terms of kind of what kind of annoys me, it's just the way that he doesn't fold up things, like in terms of clothes. So like, I will kind of, I don't know if this is a boy thing though, I will kind of give him like, I'll do the clean washing, like I'll put the washing away. He does cook, in fairness, like he cooks majority of the time, 90% of the time. So I'll kind of do the other things like cleaning up the house, kind of putting, like doing the washing, clean washing, hanging up the washing, that kind of stuff, like the admin stuff for the house, like the bills, etc. And he cooks. And he does do some washing up as well, to be fair. But it's literally the kind of tidying up of his clothes. Like if I fold up his clothes and put them next to his wardrobe, he will just leave them there, and he'll happily leave them there for like 3, 4 plus, probably a week plus, if I didn't say to him, oh, would you mind putting the clothes away? The other thing, I don't know if this is another boy thing, but they sit on the toilet for just 8 and just sit there. Like they literally just sit on the toilet for the fun of it, I swear. He'll just sit on his phone. I'm exposing him. He'll be like, what the hell, G? But yeah, I feel like that's 2 things. Nothing else I could say. We definitely work very, very well together. We of course bicker, we of course argue. It's a relationship at the end of the day. We've been together 6 years. We're like an old married couple. Now, moving on, how do you make decisions on brand deals? This is a kind of really interesting one. So I am not under management at all. Like I've literally got no management. I never have. It's always kind of just been me, which is hard. Like it is hard, but actually I kind of do, I don't know, it is hard in the sense of I have to always make the decisions, like actually knowing if I'm kind of asking enough from the brand, if that makes sense. Of course, I only work with brands that I fully love and kind of truly love. So let's take example for MyProtein. Like I've worked with them for years now. Same with navigation. I've also kind of purchased the leggings by myself and kind of trialed them out, did a YouTube haul, not kind of paid or anything like that. I simply just kind of wanted to do a YouTube haul because I had so many questions from you guys about the leggings. So that's kind of like, how do you make the decisions? You'll get kind of, so I get a lot of kind of emails about brands collaborating, like DMs, etc. And of course, not every brand, like I say no to majority of brands, to be honest. Like I am very much a, I literally love my online coaching business. And I don't really, you could say I don't really take kind of full advantage from my Instagram. Like I don't fully do the whole kind of paid partnership. I don't work with many brands. Like I literally don't. And I think that's the funny thing, that I don't really do ads. And if I do, it's very rare. So in terms of kind of like how I deal with it, if it is a brand, then of course you kind of get in contact with the brand and you make sure that kind of, I've always tried the products, like made sure I've used the products myself before actually kind of contracting with a brand. But yeah, it can obviously, because I'm doing it myself, it is hard, but I would never change it. Like I love kind of where I'm at with my Instagram. I love the kind of couple of select brands that I work with. And yeah, I'm not kind of, that's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, that's pretty much it really. Moving on. Do you ever wish you had more experience with other guys before you met Harv? So if you didn't know, Harv is literally my first relationship. In terms of kind of do I wish? No, like I'm really happy with where I'm at. I don't think I missed out. I really don't. I'm not kind of a one night stand person. I'm really not. For me, it's just not me. So I am very much a, Mum and Harvey used to call me like the ice queen, where I literally would let nobody in terms of emotions. And Harv was kind of the first person that kind of knocked me down from an ice queen and kind of melted that ice, you could say. But no, I don't kind of wish that I'd done anything else. I kind of had a relationship at all. I'm really happy, really content. Okay, so final question. What job would you do if you weren't a coach? So previously to kind of Instagram, like online coaching, etc., I was working for BMW Park Lane in London, Mayfair. Literally, it was such a cool job. So I did actually get it through my Instagram. So I actually was kind of in contact through my Instagram, etc. But it was kind of a job working with influencers. So I wasn't the influencer, I was working with the influencers. So I was kind of having the influencers under my wing. Is that the right wording, I would say? So basically I was kind of having making the collaborations, you could say, where I was being able to drive around the cars and then obviously kind of picking the influencers we wanted to work with, contacting them, and then also kind of working for doing the inquiries for the kind of BMW Mini and BMW I. Loved it. Like it was so much fun in that sense, because I'd also be taking photos of kind of all of the cars, literally driving them around London, which is insane. I was driving brand new cars just kind of for the fun of it. Literally driving them around, and some of the cars were wow, like literally wow. The events I went to, I met some insane people. It was literally an incredible job, and I loved working in London. Didn't love the commute. I was literally commuting 3 hours per day, I remember running for tubes constantly every single day. I was working some weekends, very late nights, like some nights I'd finish at 8, 9 p.m, some days I'd start very early. It kind of depended on the shift. But if I kind of wasn't doing Instagram and like online coaching, I would definitely be doing something to kind of work on kind of still in the influencer kind of thing, but not actually being the influencer. So I would do anything to do with marketing and social media. It was something I loved, and it's all ever since uni kind of just like boom, 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 boom. It's all come into play where I obviously started my Instagram through uni, and then I kind of left. I then obviously, so I went to my placement year with BMW, and then kind of obviously did social media there, and I got my job because of my Instagram account, and I left that and went to kind of to work in Anytime Fitness in Basingstoke. And then I kind of left that and I took my kind of self to start my online coaching. And then I kind of tried to go back to uni, hated it, didn't go back to uni. And here I am now. So in terms of kind of if I wasn't doing it, I would still be doing something kind of to do with marketing and social media. I hope that was interesting. I kind of touched on different subjects and I do hope that kind of was interesting, but I will catch you guys on Wednesday next week at 6 p.m. Please remember to turn on your notifications, actually. Hit the like button and I will catch you guys next week.